WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. I want to make sure that you understand that today is the day that we start thinking seriously. I know you've thought about Christmas. You've thought about what all that means, and many of you probably have bought gifts and presents. But I want to talk to you today, and I've got a gentleman with me today that's going to talk to you about some things that should, and we hope, will touch your heart. People that need your attention and help, and there's ways you can do that. Our guest today is Joey Leggett, and Joey is CEO and Superintendent of Falcon's Children's Home and Family Services. Started in 2007. 14 years now in, Joey. You have graced our studio and had a conversation about the many things you guys are doing, and we're going to touch on some of those. I want to kind of start the show with a bigger picture here and just kind of open it for your commentary about the challenges and this living through already things that were challenged, and now you had the COVID situation. So it's been over a year since we've had a conversation. How are you weathering that storm?
Well, first of all, JW, thank you for allowing me to be on this program today. We look forward to it each year, and I thank you for allowing us to spotlight Falcon Children's Home and what we do there. Yeah, COVID was a real, I would say, dilemma at times for Falcon Children's Home. We have 12 different cottages, anywhere from 4 to possibly 10 children on a cottage. So you can imagine you're living in a communal type setting. So if we had a positive case of COVID, we had to take extra steps to make sure we isolated that cottage, got the kids tested, got treatments that were needed. And then another aspect of that is we have our own school on campus. So we had kids not only living on a cottage with other children that could possibly be infected with the COVID virus if one student had it, but they were also going to our school, which means they could infect other kids from the school as well as community kids who went to our school. But fortunately, about 2.5 years ago, we had an RN come work with us. We do have a nurse on campus. She works 3 days a week. And she was a former nurse with Cape Fear Valley Hospital, was a manager with Cape Fear Valley Hospital, very knowledgeable. In fact, she has her doctorate in nursing. So she wrote us a very good protocol. We had different ways of making sure we cleaned behind ourselves, what we would do as far as getting off of isolation and getting past the COVID situation. And I'll be quite honest with you, JW, if she had not come, I don't know what we would do. She really helped guide us through that process. And then you throw on to that COVID aspect, you've got children who are being taken out of their home, coming to Falcon Children's Home. So we don't know what they've been exposed to at the house they were coming from. In fact, a lot of group homes were at times not taking children because of the COVID concern, or we would start what we call a COVID cottage. So if a new student come, we put them on that cottage for at least 7 days to ensure they had not had any symptoms of COVID. So to say the least, it was very challenging, and probably as challenging for our house parents as anyone. We have house parents who work 1 week on and 1 week off, some 2 weeks on and 1 week off. It's their choice. But if a child had COVID while they were on the college working with them, they'd have to work until the child cleared the COVID protocol or the other children in the cottage before they could go back home on their time off, because we didn't want to bring another couple in to take their place that would possibly be exposed to COVID too. So I'm trying to look after the best policy, look after the students as well as the employees. So it was a really challenging time, but I'll say this, I was very impressed with our staff during this time and very impressed with our students. They really seemed to come through it. And so, you know, to a student coming to Falcon Children's Home, to have the trauma of being removed from your home for whatever reason and coming to the children's home and have COVID thrown on top of that, it just really, really amazed me how well our students did.
The dynamic of that, and with what the responsibilities are and what Falcon's Children's Home is, and I think that I want to kind of segue into that, is that this idea of a children's home that is faith-based driven started some years ago. Pentecostal churches were one of the key supporters and mainstream faith organizations. Now you have multiple supporters from various faith groups. Tell us how that is going, and are folks still stepping up during this pandemic, and are you still able to sustain the kind of volume that is expected?
Yeah, very good question. Children's Home started in 1909 at a camp meeting service down there in Falcon, North Carolina. A bunch of Pentecostal believers came together and said, we got to do something about the amount of orphans we see coming each year to this camp meeting service. A camp meeting service which was started, by the way, by a man here in Clinton or Sampson County. But anyway, they raised $862 and some odd cents and started what they called the first children's home. And then in 1949, there was a difficult process or time there for the children's home when there was no funds and there was a lack of food and clothing. So they started something called Harvest Train, where they would ask the churches on the East Coast to bring commodities, food, and whatever monetary donations they may have to keep the children's home doors open. And that was a process that went on all the way up until 2 years ago. So we've always had the Harvest Train program. That program in itself brings in about a quarter of our budget, as well as over a quarter worth of our commodities that help us throughout the year. It's a wonderful thing. It's not just a production. I mean, it's not just a program, it's a production that the kids put on to say thank you to everyone who gives to us. Well, when COVID hit, guess what? We couldn't have that anymore. We usually have 2,500 people in an auditorium for that program bringing stuff to us. So last year, we got together as a staff, and I said, guys, we've got to figure out some way to be able to have those people come to Falcon. Not that we're just wanting the money or the commodities, but it is a life support for us, basically. But also, it's good for those people to stay in tune with what's happening at Falcon. So we started the All Is Bright Christmas lights last year. We decorated our campus. We had over 3,000 cars come through the campus. And JW, talking about us being a children's home of faith, we really didn't miss a beat last year. It was amazing. Monies were coming in from places that never came in from before, maybe some coming to the All Is Bright Christmas lights. The children got to see the people coming, bringing their smiling faces, which they look forward to each year. And commodities were more than we had the year before. So it was amazing that without the Harvest Train program, it had always been a tradition and a custom for so long, we were still able to sustain ourselves. And there's a lot of people here in Sampson County who give to Falcon Children's Home, and I appreciate that. And we have enlarged our donor area. It's not just the Pentecostal Holiness churches, which I thank God for them because we are a member of the Pentecostal Holiness Church, or a ministry of Pentecostal Holiness Church. But we accept support from anyone, and a lot of people have stepped up, different civic groups, other religious organizations. But this year, we can't have the Harvest Train program again because we had to make a decision back in September because it's about a 3-month process to get this in place. It takes a while to do a program the size of Harvest Train. So at that time was when the Delta variant was running rampant again. And so I said, guys, we cannot have the Harvest Train program. So this year we're doing the All Is Bright Christmas lights again. Is the way we say thank you. Since we can't do the program, we decorate the campus. It's like a Christmas wonderland. It'll take you about 45 minutes to tour the campus. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Mm-hmm. We've gone out and bought a lot of different things, and we've actually upped our game from last year's lights. And if anyone went last year, you saw how beautiful it was. But that's the way of us saying thank you to everyone who gives to us throughout the year and wait for you to come be a part of Falcon Children's Home.
I think one of the important things with that is that not only is the experience a deep, rich experience that kind of brings you closer to the meaning of Christmas, to the reality of Jesus Christ, but at the same time, you're contributing something. And as you just pointed out, it hadn't got to be anything large. You don't have to make a huge donation, but some small item to show your support for what you guys are doing there.
Yeah, and it really, last year, we almost did it on the spur of the moment. So this year we had more planning going into it. But last year to see people, they come 3 or 4 times through there. And each time they'd bring something, drop it off. We have a warehouse as part of the tour. You go right through the warehouse, we unload your stuff, and you keep going, you don't miss a beat. And it's really, but they see our kids, they see us there working. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I just can't explain to you what it feels like to work with the students I work with. And this isn't just a job for me. I really care about the students I work with and see smiles on their faces, but to see people coming from the community and bringing stuff and knowing they'll be a part of bringing a smile to those children's faces. It was just a wonderful, wonderful reason of what Christmas is all about. And I'm very humbled and fortunate to be there in such a place like that.
As we look at December and looking at actually visiting the campus up there and driving through and that kind of thing, So will you do it after the 4th? Will there be opportunities after the 4th?
I don't think so. I think we've got to make sure that we don't invade on the children's privacy so much that every night there's cars coming through there. Now, it'll still be lit up some. If you want to come through Falcon, you can see it. But part of this tour goes all the way through the campus of the children's home. And so we probably can't do it past those days. Okay.
Well, we're going to take a break. I want to come back and we'll kind of touch again and try to help do a little promotion on that. But there's just so much stuff we got to cover, and I want to make sure I don't just push my agenda. I want to make sure you get what you want to cover. So
we'll cut me off if I talk too much. Let me know.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking about a real deep subject. We're talking about something that gives you and your church, your community, your family a way to contribute, to make a difference in another human being's life that is in great need at this time. And Falcon's Children's Home is a place to do that. We'll be back in a moment.
If you would like to know more about Falcon's Children's Home, visit them at falconchildrenshome.org. You can also find them on social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook. Find information on how to donate your time or help meet the financial and material needs of Falcon Children's Home. Visit their site to learn more about the life-changing work of this wonderful organization. That is www.falconchildrenshome.org. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of what we should know.
Let's get out of here.
Protect what matters most in your life with security from Star Communications.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. I'm your host, J.W. Simmons. We're talking about Falcon's Children's Home. We're talking with the CEO and superintendent of Falcon's Children's Home and Family Services. The title leads into, Joey, an obvious conversation about the multiple aspects of Falcon's Children's Homes. The thing that strikes me is the different services that you guys offer. When I years ago when we started talking about this, I looked at it and I was thinking, well, this is just kind of foster home, or this is kind of children that maybe do not have a home and you offer them a place like an orphanage. But it's multiple services. For example, a New Life Christian adoptions. That's something that folks may not know what that's all about, but that's a critical piece of what you do.
Yeah, it really is, JW. And again, thank you for allowing me to expound on what we do, because a lot of people don't know. When I first went to the Children's Home 14 years ago, we were pretty much a residential facility, which means we were a group home, a children's home. But I realized that if we really were going to stay relevant, we needed to probably update what we were doing. But not only that, if we wanted to help children, we need to update what we were doing. We need to offer some more programs that we could offer to children. So here we are 14 years later, we still have the residential part of group homes, which is a group home. We also license foster homes, which means we can go in any county in North Carolina license foster homes. We also merged with the maternity home, which used to be in Salemburg, which was then called the Alternative to Abortion Ministries. It's now called Royal Home Ministries, as well as the adoption agency, a New Life Christian Adoption Agency. And then we have also started a mothers and babies program to work with that also. And then we started our own private school on campus because I realized a lot of our students were getting kind of lost in the system. Nothing was wrong with the public schools in which they were attending. However, because of some of the trauma in their life and some of the things they were going through, I thought if we could have a school on campus that could specialize in working with them, For example, a student may go to court one day convinced he's going home or she's going home, and then it doesn't quite work out. And I want us to be able to hone in on that child and work with that child, or maybe they were behind on their grades. A lot of times they come to us behind on their grades because of some of the things that were going on in their home. They were not going to school, so we can get them caught up through our wonderful program there in school. And we also have some classes we can do online to get them caught up. But we've always tried to reach out and make sure we're trying to reach any child that we could possibly reach that could possibly benefit from Falcon Children's Home. We've got another program that will start in about a month from now. It is a home for girls caught up in sexual trafficking. That's our newest program at this time. I was asked to go to a conference a few years ago at the request of some of the board members on my board called the Alliance Against Pornography, which I wasn't sure what that was all about, but I went because they had asked me to go. But it was actually about sexual trafficking. It was in Baltimore, Maryland. And I left there that they had changed because I realized it's hard to imagine those things going on in America or even in rural North Carolina. But Cumberland County and Mecklenburg County are two of the biggest areas for it. So I made a vow then that, of course, I'm a person of faith. Lord, if you ever give me a chance where I feel like we can run a quality program, I would like to help those particular segment of the community or population out. And so we've got a home, and really not going to reveal the location because you are dealing with unsavory characters when you start working in this kind of ministry. But it should be licensed in the next couple of weeks. It's on a 40-acre campus with electronic fences. And we've got a couple who are already working in that industry who's come to work with us. So we feel really good about that. And you know, someone may say, well, you're getting away from what was the premises of the beginning of Falcon Children's Home, which was residential care. But the way I see that is if we can help a child, if it's a program that can help a child, we need to do everything we can to provide help to those children. And that young lady could be your daughter, my daughter, somebody else's daughter. And to think that they're being used almost in a slave market just for their body just really just touches the heart of who I am. And I said, we're going to have to do something about that. So we'll be the only licensed facility in the state of North Carolina for girls under 21 caught up in sexual trafficking.
These programs, particularly as it relates to human trafficking, and sex trafficking is a big part of that. It is a tremendous concern and problem that maybe has not been characterized that much on major media platforms. We've talked about it on this show a number of times. We've had human trafficking people that lead the cause of dealing with that and preventative measures. How much of that are you seeing that you're dealing with now at Falcon that is directly substance abuse related, and that particular issue lends itself, I think, to some of the folks that you get there as children. There's substance abuse issues tied to that. Does all of that have a certain common vortex?
It does. A lot of our students who come to us, I'd say 60%, maybe even higher, 70%, there's probably some sort of substance abuse reason that they're there. The parents have either got on some sort of a narcotic or drug or maybe even alcohol sometimes. And so then when you have children who are coming from situations where they don't have the structure at home that they should have, or the parents who, because again, they've got caught up in a situation where they're dependent on something. Those kids are looking for somewhere to belong, and those are the kids sometimes that sex traffickers or human traffickers will highlight and try to get in touch with. And we've seen it actually hit at Falcon. We have to be careful sometimes of students we take, and I'll give an example. We had a young lady a few years ago. She came to us, and we knew she had been involved in that kind of behavior. And so we worked with her, but she runs away one night and takes two of our girls with her. And fortunately, we got the girls back. But then a few years later, she wanted to come back. And because us, again, wanting to help, we said we'd take her back. Well, again, she tried to run to take two girls with her. So then we realized she was actually recruiting for a sex trafficking ring, and they were putting her in a children's home because they thought our kids would be prime targets. So it correlates a lot with what we do, and a lot of our kids could possibly leave Falcon and get involved in that. But let me say this about human trafficking or sex trafficking. It's not always a kid that's coming from a broken home or a home that's dependent on our dependency issues. It can be just girls in regular suburban America, because these traffickers are pretty sharp in what they do. They'll go online and try to attract kids. You need to monitor your kids on computers. Make sure you monitor what they're doing on Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat and all that stuff. Because they'll try to target these young ladies and try to convince them that they give them a modeling career or something like that. And before you know it, they've indoctrinated them into this human trafficking and sex trafficking arena. And so, but the kids that do come to Falcon, there is a correlation there, because a lot of them come from a home that has dependency issues. They don't have the structure that should be there. And a lot of times they're just looking for someone to approve them. And these people will swoop in and say, hey, we're going to be your mom and dad for you. We're going to buy you stuff you never had before. And before they know it, they're caught up in that ring. And that just really bothers me that happens in America, but it does.
I want to spend a little time on that. I kind of had it noted. Because this is kind of a new area that you're breaking into. And I know I'll probably, or we'll get calls or what have you. So I want to make some points here kind of clear. If somebody is aware of something that is not properly being done, or a child that may be engaged in this human trafficking business and sex trafficking, the first call they should make should be to whom?
I would say for sex trafficking would be to law enforcement, because it is, but then they should call social services also so they can remove the children. But they probably need to get law enforcement involved first, because again, these individuals who are behind this, it's not just some person down the road. A lot of times it could be a drug cartel. There could be it could go a lot deeper than you think it does.
Very dangerous people.
Very dangerous people. And that's why we're not even going to tell where our location is for this home, because once it's ever discovered, we have to move somewhere else. But I will say this, we're working in a collaboration with the Baptist Home for Children and working on this. And I can just say that, but it's not on their campus either. I want to make that clear. But yes, I would say call law enforcement immediately, and then follow that call up with social services, because they'll need to get those children out there as soon as they can. But one thing about those who are involved in sexual trafficking, they don't want to be exposed, because this works in the shadows. So if they know law enforcement's on to them, or if this person turned them into law enforcement on this particular young lady, then they'd be more prone to back away, because they don't want attention brought to them, because this is a money-making proposition for them. And so anything that would interfere with that, they don't want to be exposed. So, but I would call law enforcement immediately, because you don't want to put yourself in a place where you may call social services first. And I may be wrong to say not call, I say call them simultaneously, but if you're the person calling, you do want to make sure you involve law enforcement also.
This and again, this is an area I think we need to spend a little time on, because this is a brave endeavor on the part of Falcon's Children's Home and you said the Baptist Association. Also, I think it's a brave endeavor, but one that needs a step that needs to be taken. I congratulate you guys for doing that.
Well, I appreciate that, JW. And again, it's different, and it's going to be a whole nother arena. We knew we could not put this program on the campus of Falcon Children's Home. That would not be fair to the other students. But again, that young lady, and it also happens to young men also, but right now we're just open to college for girls. But that young lady is a child. They're a child, and that you have to look at it that way. And Falcon Children's Home is there to help children, and no matter how diverse or how in depth that situation may be, it is our place, I feel like, to offer services that we can do that. And it's just very important too, I feel like, to always continue to look how to be relevant in how we can meet the ever-changing world that we're living in. And that's one of those areas now that's really needs to be addressed.
This whole arena of criminal psychology and understanding gang-related activities and criminal gangs, the head of that pops up in some very strange places, and sadly we're talking about it being here in a religious organization and a faith-based organization. You would not expect that, but the fact that you're addressing it says a lot.
Well, thank you. And really, we've got a couple named Michael and Abby Arena. She was already working in this environment in the Fayetteville area. They're very on fire for it. And sometimes you might want to do a program with them. They're really more versed than I am in what's going on with human trafficking and sexual trafficking. They've got a lot of expertise in that area. But it really is something I feel like that I'm proud that my board, I'm proud that Falcon Children's Homes gave us the go ahead to do this. And I think we'll see, it'll have great blessings in the future.
We're going to take another break, and I want to come back and kind of expand our research here on a lot of the other areas that Falcon's Children's Home is involved in. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking with Joey Leggett, CEO of Falcon Children's Home, and we're going to be talking to you about some other areas that they focus on that you should be interested in. We'll be back in a moment.
At home or away, knowing who is at your door is priceless. Star Communications is here to help with its doorbell security camera by Skybell. Live viewing and two-way audio equips you with the ability to always see and greet anyone that shows up at your door. If this is the kind of confidence you are looking for, call Star Communications today at 1-800-706-6538 to learn more about this intelligent security that you can always depend on.
The name of the show is We Should Know. We come to you on Tuesdays, each and every Tuesday at 2:30. We're simulcast on WCLN Radio. We're talking today with Joey Leggett, the CEO of Falcon's Children's Home. Joey, one of the things that we've talked about is kind of not only the complexity, but we alluded to the size of Falcon's Children's Home, both geographically and the different kinds of programs you have going on. One of those areas is Tuberville Children's Home. Or Tuberville. Is it Tuberville? Tuberville yes. Children's Home. Tell us about that, because that's something that not only geographically expands where you are, but even puts you into another state.
Yeah, it does. That's been about 7 years ago now, JW. I was asked again by a bishop who serves on our board, said, there's a children's home for sale down in South Carolina. Would you have any interest? And I said, yeah. And because my plate was full. But I basically, at his request, I went there to meet with the officials at the Tuberville Children's Home. And again, not saying I'm a perfect person by any stretch of imagination, but I try to go live by faith. And I went and met with those guys, and from the time I got there, I just knew we were supposed to be there. It was run by the Free Will Baptists of South Carolina Children's Home. They decided they want to get out of the arena. Very nice, very nice people, and they did a great job of running that children's home for almost 40 years. And so my hat's off to them for that. And they just said, we just want to get out of this arena, and we want a faith-based organization to come in. So anyway, met with those guys, and I really thought once we got it going that it would probably be dependent upon Falcon Children's Home to keep it going for up to the first 10 years of its operation. But I was prepared to do that because I felt it'd be good to go into South Carolina. We get a lot of support from churches in South Carolina and civic groups in South Carolina, but yet we have very few children at Falcon from South Carolina. And so when we went in there into that part of South Carolina, Tuberville is, you go down Interstate 95, you turn off 95, you go 4 miles on the Highway 378, and it's right there off of 378, which is a 4-lane highway. A lot of people use to go to Myrtle Beach. So it's got a high propensity to be seen by a lot of people traveling that way. But more importantly than that, it's got a good location. It's almost in the central part of the state almost, where we could actually serve a lot of children in South Carolina. But here we are 7 years in, they're paying their way. They're fully staffed. They've got almost 20, it's a smaller children's home. They've got like 23, 24 students there. The support is amazing. People in South Carolina rallied around it. And it's just really, really a blessing to see how it's come along. And it adds to Falcon Children's Home rather than taking away from Falcon Children's Home. And it also adds to more students we can help. And we will enlarge that program going forward to include foster homes and mothers and babies program also, like we have at Falcon. That is a long-range plan.
Do you see the Tuberville Children's Home, that campus expanding over time when you look at that looking glass down the road 10, 15, 20 years? Do you see that as a area that you want to push to expand?
I do, but let me say this. There is and if anybody's out there with social services, they will concur with what I'm saying. There is a big push to get kids out of what they call group homes. Family First Act, which took effect October 1, is supposed to start limiting the amount of students in group homes. And by that, they're saying that the federal government will no longer pay any portion for kids to be in group homes, anything past 2 weeks. Now, that opens a lot of Pandora's box, if you would. But right now, with that beginning October 1, we have one of the highest censuses we've had. So I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have. But I say that to say this, I don't think I see the children's home itself expanding as far as the residential side. Where I see that expanding at Tuberville is licensed in foster homes, which they don't do yet, a mothers and babies program, which the federal government recognizes and is not taking funding away from that, and probably getting involved in the sexual trafficking aspect. But that may not be on the campus itself, it may be somewhere around the campus. But as far as the children's home itself, I don't see that expanding greatly as far as the campus or the residential side of it. I see the services they offer as expanding.
When I look at a lot of what you're doing, and we've touched here on the physical location in South Carolina, but we're living in a world of connectivity through various mediums on the internet and that kind of thing. Are you guys focused on connection in that area, not only in the sense of obviously giving and contribution, but in a sense of folks reaching out to you that need assistance or know someone that needs assistance, or children that maybe themselves might reach out and say, hey, I can't deal with where I'm at now?
Yeah, all of our kids are not placed there by social services. Some kids are placed there by grandparents, by parents. Some kids will call us if they're in teen years and say, I want to come back to Falcon. So we always we have, of course, www.falconchildren'shome.com or .org. Mm-hmm. Kids can reach out to us, and we try to get on all the social media aspects. But yes, we try to make sure we're available so that people can reach out to us from all across America if they want to. And we do get kids from other states. Now, normally the social services in other states won't place kids with us. They won't go across state lines. That's why it was important we went to South Carolina. But we do have different people who say, hey, I've heard about Falcon Children's Home. I really think my child would benefit by being there. Can we put our child there, or can we see about placing our child there? And we'll set up an interview process with them. But it is with the social media capabilities that's out there today, social networking and so forth, it's allowed us to enhance what we're doing, which it also has allowed us to enhance the contributions we get, people who want to give to Falcon when they see what we're doing. Because I think really when people get a real gist of what Falcon's all about and how these are children. Now, I know sometimes they may come with adult problems that makes them appear less like children because they've had some adult things happen in their lives, but they're still children. And when they realize that our ministry is helping children, helping them get past that difficult time, I think it means a lot to them. And, I tell people a story one time that, we've had to discharge kids before because of their behaviors. Hard thing to do, but sometimes we do. But there was 3 particular girls who really gave us a very difficult time. They sort of bonded together, and they could cuss, or they would cuss me out upside one down the other, but they were just so angry and all these different things. And so we finally had to let them go, and they told me they'd get me one day. They were so mad at me. They said, our boyfriends and so-and-so will come and get you one day. And one night I was working late in my office, and I heard a knock on my window it's been about 8 or 9 months later. Well, it was these 3 girls. So I thought they were coming to make good on what they had told me.
Fulfill their promise.
Yeah. And they said, Mr. Leggett, we want to see you. And I was like, you're not getting in this building. Yeah. But, they kept banging on the window, and there was no one there but me in the office. And I said, well, I'm just going to have to talk to them. So I opened the door, and they came in, and they just started hugging my neck and just telling me how much they missed me and all these things. And I just kind of took a step back and said, do y'all remember when y'all left here? And they said, Mr. Leggett, we do, but we were young. We just didn't understand all that y'all were doing for us. And we realize now what you're doing for us. And I tell my staff all the time, even those children have the most worst of times in their life and maybe act like they hate Falcon, it's when they come back later and they really realize what Falcon did for them. And so when people give the Falcon, I would say, you're making an investment in the future of young people who, if we can't make a difference, if we can't show them something different, then they may go through the rest of their life feeling like they've been wronged, and which means they're going to probably many times carry out certain things in life that would maybe put them in jail or put them in crime or make them dependent on the state. And we're trying to really make a difference in these kids' lives. And most of our kids are teenagers. Most of the kids we get coming is 13 years or over because, again, back in around 2000, the federal government said we want kids 12 and under placed in foster homes. So most of the kids in residential are teenagers. And that's the real difference. But I tell people, to me, there's more of a need for teenagers having a place like Falcon than kids who are younger, because you can find foster homes for younger kids, but these older kids are kind of caught in the middle. Foster families are afraid to take them, and they're the ones who many times have been scarred in life. And so when we can really make a difference in these kids' lives, like let them get an education through our school, let them go through our counseling services we have on campus, helping them get a job, helping them put money away. All of our kids who find jobs, they have to put half their money in savings. We've had kids leave Falcon before with $10,000 in their pocket they can get started with. So to all those out there who wonder what Falcon does, we're trying to correct sometimes injustice has been done. It's not a kid's fault they're at Falcon Children's Home. Usually something's happened to them through their parents or through a situation. It's not their fault. But many times they would leave there feeling like they've been wronged. We want to show them, no, you've not been wronged. Life is not always fair, but we're going to help you get on your feet and help you become a productive citizen. So when people give to Falcon Children's Home, they're given to a process, I think, that really makes a difference in the lives of children.
Joe, if it were not for Falcon's Children's Home and others throughout the country, would these children likely be led to criminality and have a high propensity of being incarceration?
Possibly. I wouldn't want to say that for certain because I don't want every child to think because they're going through a difficult time they may end up there. But I think possibly because, your teen years are tough as it is. I mean, just regular teenagers growing up in a home, in a stable home, in a structured home. Even teen years are difficult. I had 3 teen boys and one's still a teen. I think he's at Barton College. I think he's still 19. But so add on top of that, you're dealing with things going on in your home or perhaps. And one of the hardest things for kids to deal with is sexual abuse. Sometimes that happens in homes, and the people are supposed to take care of you. So, but I add the drama of just being a teenager, and add all these different things that goes on in their life. It's almost as if they develop an anger, and that simmering anger and resentment can really cause these children sometimes to do things in later life that can lead them down that path. So I really feel like programs like Falcon Children's Home, Baptist Home for Children, Lake Waccamaw, Free Will Baptist Children's Home in Middlesex, good friend of mine. I really feel like we are capturing that population. Now, where Family First Act scares me, they really do want to close down group homes. That's their intent for the most part, yes, is where do those kids go? Right now, there's over 15,000 children in foster care in North Carolina. There's about 2,000 in group homes. So we're not the biggest portion of that. But at 2,000, where would they go? And so I really think that they will come back at some point in time and see this. Now, those who really are in the industry, they understand the importance of group homes because you can't find foster homes to take a lot of these older kids. When they take a child out of a home, they first try to put them with a relative. If they can't find a relative, try to put them with a friend. If they can't find a friend, try to put them in a foster home. If they can't find a foster home, then they call group homes. So we're already the last on the rung anyway of the places they're looking to place a child. And I used to work with social services. I know how that works. So if they had a place to put the children, I would put them in group homes anyway. So I really think the government's been very short-sighted in realizing they needed to keep group homes are very important to the future care of children.
I want to continue this conversation when we come back from break, and then I want to kind of get into some of the underlying causes that you've alluded to that is creating this dynamic for children that, should we say, are lost.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. Call a friend, stay tuned. We're talking about children. We're talking about Falcon's Children's Home, and information you need to know. Call a friend.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know. My name is J.W. Simmons, your host. Each and every week, 2:30 on Tuesdays, Star Communications Channel 16, simulcast WCLN Radio. I want to thank you for being here each and every week. I also want to remind you to keep sending us those emails at weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. I want to thank all those folks at the radio station that announce the programs we have. Tommy Elliott and his show, and Robert Stroud every Saturday will mention We Should Know and the program that we've got upcoming, and those kinds of things help us make sure you get the message of the content and the very special people that we talk to each week that impacts your life. Again, it's We Should Know every Tuesday at 2:30. There's the replays at 7 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday on Star Communications Channel 16. And the show is also uploaded to a number of social media platforms. And again, today we're talking about children. We're talking about Falcon's Children's Home CEO, Joey Leggett. It seems like 13, 14 years has gone by relatively fast. A number of things we've talked about has been about things that you're doing that is somewhat unique, the broad space that you're covering. Let's get back into some of those programs and touch on them. And I want to touch on the maternity mothers and babies program. That's kind of interesting that a lot of folks may not know that you're involved in that program as well, Joey.
Yeah, there was a Reverend Marvin Whitfield who used to pastor at Clinton Pentecostal Holiness Church. Him and his wife, Joyce Whitfield, who taught at Clinton High School, I think it was, actually started the Royal Home or the Alternative to Abortion Ministries, which was for pregnant girls. So when we got involved, we, of course, merged with that ministry. I always had a connection with it. But as I realized a lot of these young ladies were having their babies and going back to an environment that probably was not conducive to raising a child in that, not all of them now, let me make that clear. But we thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could actually have a program where they could stay with their baby and we could help them go through parenting classes, finish getting their education. And really it was kind of spurred on by a call from Duplin County wanting to place a mother there with her 2 babies. And at that time, we were only licensed for ages 3 to 21. The babies, of course, were under the age of 3. And so I told our caseworker at that time, our social worker, I said, call the state and see if they'll allow us to change our license to include 0, and we'll start this program. And they said, no, they weren't going to allow us to do that. That they didn't, we were going to stay at the present age group level that we had. And so I said, well, call them every day about 12 o'clock on Friday. Let's just keep bugging them about it a little bit. So finally they let us do it. And from that, we started our Mothers and Babies program. And the young lady came with her 2 children. And so then we realized, hey, we really need to expand that program. So almost 6 years ago, we built a $2.5 million campus across the road from Falcon Children's Home on donations that people gave. We've got a state-of-the-art 2-bedroom apartment, little kitchenette, their own private bathroom, a playroom for the kids, and a training center for the Mothers and Babies program. And it's really become one of our better programs in the fact that we really feel like we're making a difference. And it's not always an easy program because you're working with mothers who that is their child. So when you're trying to tell them how to take care of their child, they don't necessarily appreciate that at all times, but it's a very needed program. So now the young lady who comes to us who may be pregnant, to just give you an idea, back in the old days, they would sometimes ship girls off when they got pregnant, they come back later and they'd have the baby. And they can choose to still put the baby up for adoption. We have an adoption agency. They can go through another adoption agency. And we don't ever, let me rephrase that. They cannot use our adoption agency because that'd be a conflict of interest. But if they want to adopt, we'll counsel them how to put a child up for adoption and get them in touch with another adoption agency. But if they choose to keep their baby, then we can put them through our program. They go to school right there on campus, go through our parenting class, our nutritional class, and be better equipped to leave there providing a nice and safe home for their child.
It's interesting in a sense that this is also another one of those programs that of many that you do that is oftentimes a last resort alternative. The question would be, if not there, where?
Yeah. But, I got some flack when we first started this program. There were some people saying, it's almost as if you're rewarding girls for getting pregnant, Mr. Leggett. And there were some people who said that. And I said, listen, having a child is not rewarding anybody. We don't need a child raising a child. We need to help that child become the mother they need to be. And, if we don't help them, who will? And then the way you put that is perfectly. I said, we're not here to judge how they got in that situation. And again, I'd say if you go to any room, if you ask people to raise their hand who may have had a child out of wedlock, you'd be amazed at people who have. So, we, as a society, sometimes we need to quit trying to judge and frown on situations and say, we just need to help. And I don't think, as I told somebody one time, I don't think anybody's going out to get pregnant to come to Falcon Children's Home. Mm-hmm. So things happen. And we're just helping have a solution for things when they happen.
And this is kind of a segue in, but I know a lot of folks this time of the year, both individuals, churches, group organizations, oftentimes will look for special giving and offer anybody from employees to businesses opportunities to give. We're talking with Falcons, a local organization, faith-based organization, nonprofit organization that is there, that's doing tremendous work. I want to just give you a few minutes or seconds here to just speak to churches. I'm involved member of a very small country church and have been for years, and there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of steeples. I want to just give you an opportunity to talk to people that represent and are part of those steeples out there and just express to them things that they could benefit from spiritually by being involved with Falcons.
It was the steeples that created Falcon Children's Home. Mm-hmm. At a steeple gathering, if you would, a camp meeting of a bunch of steeples, churches, people being from churches. It is the steeples that keep us going. Especially now with the Family First Act, we may see our funding cut in half from what we're getting from the local county and government. we're there to make a difference in the lives of children. Now, I cannot use Falcon Children's Home, and I tell our staff all this, it's not our place to force our religious beliefs on the children. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes where we get a rub with the federal government, they think we're doing that. We're not. But as I tell our staff, you live the life in front of them. You answer questions when they ask you questions about faith. Because I really believe that just as much as there's a physical side of a child and a mental side of a child, there's a spiritual side of a child. And that's why I believe group homes like Falcon make such a difference, because we understand that and we embrace that. We have character development classes that we have. We do have Bible classes if the kids want to take those classes. Can't force it on them, but believe me, we have a Christian campus. So why support Falcon? Because we are faith-based children's home, and everyone knows that. But, you know, when you give to Falcon, you're giving to a ministry that is making a child's Christmas better. You're giving to a ministry who's enhancing a child's life. You're giving to a ministry that hopefully is introducing them and showing them the real heart of Jesus Christ. Because, you know, what he did for Lisa, he's done it to me, and Jesus cared about children. He cared about those widows and orphans. And so Falcon has its primary mission, anything we can do to better the life of that child, to make that child be more productive as a citizen going forward, to provide a place of safety. And I'll give you an example of why I think Falcon's so important to give to, especially at Christmas time. Because as I remind our staff, we have devotions every Wednesday. We have a big staff meeting. We have devotions and prayer time. I tell our staff during this Christmas season and Thanksgiving season, enjoy it with your family. But realize we've got 80 kids here who aren't going anywhere for the holidays. And as much as we can do for them, we have a lot going on, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of different things. It's still not home. And I remember we have a great group called Santa's Helpers that throw a big Christmas party for our kids every year at the Roundabout Skating Ring. Michelle Ellis is part of that, Jack Horn, I better quit naming names, Jason Hare. And so one year we had two sisters that went to that party, and we were coming back from that party. And I was riding in the van with them back to the campus, and they get everything they want. These families adopt these kids and say, we're going to open gifts for these kids at that skating party tonight. Santa Claus comes out. And we're riding back with that young lady in the car, and she said, for the first time in my life, I got everything I asked for Christmas. And she was just beaming. But all of a sudden, I saw her just stop. She said, but you know what? I'd trade all back in tomorrow if I could just go home with my family tonight. And I thought about that. And it just really, when you give to Falcon, you're really allowing these kids to have a bridge between those feelings of it kind of gives them something to show that someone cares, because they feel like no one cares when they've been taken away from their family and they're going to be in a strange place or not at home at Christmas or at Thanksgiving. And so I would say, I mean, you don't have to give to Falcon, give to somewhere else, but give to somewhere. But if you're giving to Falcon, it is a place that is allowing children to feel safety, and it kind of just fills that void they have in their life at this holiday season.
Give us a website. You got a great website. You've got a number of publications out there. I would ask folks to take a look at a publication called The Guardian. The Guardian, yes. That's a great conversation. Some of the things we talked about is in this publication. Give us the website and kind of tell us how we contact you. Yeah, www.falconchildrenshome.org or www.falconchildrenshome.com. Either one of those, you could pull up our website. And then also, if you go on the website, if you want to get a copy of The Guardian, let us know. Send us your address so we can send it to you. It comes out 3 times a year. Keeps you up to date with what's going on at Falcon Children's Home. There'll also be personal stories in there from staff and from students, and I think you'd enjoy reading those. But again, that's www.falconchildrenshome.org or www.falconchildrenshome.com. I want to thank you for being with us today. We're coming up on closure. It's the time goes by fast when you're here. We got a lot of stuff we could continue to talk about. The ultimate reality is everybody's responsibility to support their brothers and sisters in this world. And we find ourselves at this time of the year, Christmas, the birth of Jesus Christ, to think about what the ultimate giving we could give. So any of those things, you just gave the website. We'll put that on the screen for folks. and comments or conversation. A lot of folks know your name, and they can just reach out and just talk to you personally. I don't think that's a problem.
I would love to speak to them. And Sampson County has always been a big supporter of Falcon Children's Home. We appreciate it.
Thank you again for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We look forward again to seeing you next week with a comprehensive program on things you may need to know about. So stay tuned and let folks know what we're doing, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.